They thought I was just an engineer. This was just a warm-up.
The first thing you need to know about my wife, Erica, is that she's never met a mirror she didn't love. The second thing is that she's been screwing my business partner for 6 months, and she thinks I'm too stupid to notice. I'm David Locke, and I used to think I was lucky. 37 years old, environmental engineer, married to the most beautiful woman in Charleston's social scene, living in the crumbling mansion I inherited from my grandfather. The same grandfather everyone assumed was just another eccentric old man who collected antiques and muttered about family legacy. They were wrong about him, they're wrong about me too. It's Tuesday morning, and I'm watching Erica through our bedroom window as she stretches in the garden. She's wearing that ridiculous pink yoga outfit that costs more than most people's rent, doing poses that would make a contortionist jealous. But she's not doing them for health. She's doing them because Simon Vance is watching from his car across the street. Simon thinks he's subtle. He drives that obnoxious red Porsche and parks it behind Mrs. Henderson's azalea bushes like a teenager hiding from his parents. He's 38, built like he lives at the gym, and runs what he calls an eco-entrepreneurship consulting firm, which is fancy talk for, I take money from rich people who want to feel good about destroying the environment. The irony isn't lost on me. Dave, honey, could you make me a smoothie? Erica calls from the garden, not bothering to look at me. Her voice has that practiced sweetness she uses when she wants something. I'm absolutely exhausted from my workout. Right, her workout. Last night she came home at 11:30 with her hair messed up and her lipstick gone, claiming she'd been at the gym. The same gym that closes at 10. Sure thing, sweetheart, I call back, injecting just enough sarcasm that she'll think I'm being playful instead of bitter. I head downstairs to our kitchen, which is the only room in this house that doesn't look like it belongs in a museum. The rest of the place is all dark wood paneling, oil paintings of stern-faced ancestors, and furniture that creaks when you look at it wrong. Grandfather's taste, not mine. But the kitchen is modern, all stainless steel and granite, because Erica insisted on it when we got married 5 years ago. A woman needs a proper kitchen, David, she'd said, batting those green eyes that made me forget, I was supposed to be the smart one in the relationship. Ms. Jean, our housekeeper, is already there, loading the dishwasher with the efficiency of someone who's been doing this job for 30 years. She's 72, sharp as a razor, and the only person in this house who sees everything and says nothing. Morning, Mr. David, she says without looking up. Mrs. Erica's phone was buzzing all night on the kitchen counter. Forgot to take it upstairs again. This is Ms. Jean's way of telling me something without actually telling me. She's been with the family since before I was born, and she has a talent for dropping information like breadcrumbs. Did it keep you awake? I ask, playing along. Oh, no, sir, but it did light up quite a bit around midnight. Someone named Project Eden was very eager to reach her. Project Eden. That's a new one. I make Erica's smoothie, kale, spinach, protein powder, and enough fruit to mask the taste of healthy living, while my mind works through this latest piece of the puzzle. Erica has always been secretive about her phone, but lately it's gotten ridiculous. She takes it to the bathroom, sleeps with it under her pillow, and guards it like it contains state secrets. Maybe it does. Ms. Jean, I say casually, have you noticed anything different about Mrs. Erica lately? The old woman pauses in her dishwashing. Different how, sir? I don't know. New habits, new friends, new interests. Ms. Jean considers this for a moment. Well, sir, she has been doing an awful lot of laundry lately, especially delicate items, and she's been very particular about which dry cleaner we use now. Another breadcrumb. Ms. Jean knows exactly what she's telling me. I take the smoothie out to Erica, who's now sitting on our stone patio with her phone pressed to her ear. When she sees me coming, she quickly ends the call. Thanks, baby, she says, accepting the glass with a smile that doesn't reach her eyes. You're the best husband a girl could ask for. The words should make me happy. Instead, they feel like a knife twisting in my chest. Who was on the phone? I ask, settling into the chair across from her. Oh, just Tara. You know how she is. Always has some drama going on. Tara Mitchell is Erica's best friend and the biggest gossip in Charleston. She's also married to a plastic surgeon and spends her days getting treatments that make her look like a wax figure. If Tara's involved in whatever Erica's doing, It's going to get messy. What kind of drama this time? Erica waves her hand dismissively. Something about her trainer at the gym. Apparently he's been giving private lessons to some of the married women, if you know what I mean. She laughs, but there's something forced about it. Something that makes me wonder if she's talking about herself. That's terrible, I say. I hope she's not getting mixed up in anything inappropriate. Of course not, Erica says quickly. Tara would never do anything like that. She's completely devoted to Richard. The protest is too fast, too emphatic. In my line of work, I've learned that when someone insists too hard about something, they're usually lying. Well, I should get to the office, I say, standing up. Big meeting with the City Planning Commission today. About what? The new waste management facility. Boring stuff. Erica nods absently, already reaching for her phone again. Have a good day, honey. I kiss the top of her head, breathing in the scent of her expensive shampoo mixed with something else. Something that smells like men's cologne. As I walk back toward the house, I can hear her dialing another number. It's me, she says in a voice I don't recognize. Lower, more intimate. He just left, we need to talk. I pause at the kitchen door, but she's moved to the far end of the patio, speaking too quietly for me to make out the words. All I can hear is the tone, urgent, secretive, excited. Miss Jean is waiting for me in the kitchen with a knowing look. Mr. David, she says quietly, your grandfather always said that knowledge is power, but timing is everything. What do you mean? He meant that sometimes you have to let people think they're winning before you show them how wrong they are. I stare at her for a moment, wondering how much she really knows. Miss Jean has been the keeper of this family's secrets for decades. She was here when grandfather built his fortune, here when he made the decisions that shaped the city, and here when he decided to let everyone think he was just a harmless old eccentric. Miss Jean, what exactly did my grandfather tell you about the family business? She smiles, and for the first time, I see something in her eyes that reminds me of grandfather himself. Sharp, calculating, patient. He told me that the Locke family has always been good at letting other people underestimate them, sir. And that someday, you'd need to remember that. Before I can ask what she means, my phone buzzes with a text from Felix Morrison, my lawyer, and the only real friend I have left. Need to see you ASAP. Found something interesting about your wife's new business ventures. My blood runs cold. Erica doesn't have any business ventures that I know about. I grab my keys and head for the door, but not before I hear Erica's voice drifting in from the patio. Tonight, she's saying, the greenhouse, midnight. Felix Morrison's law office looks like it was decorated by someone who watched too many legal dramas and decided to lean into the cliché. Dark wood, leather chairs, walls lined with law books that probably haven't been opened since law school. But Felix himself is anything but cliché. He's sharp, ruthless when he needs to be. And the only person who knew my grandfather well enough to understand what the old man was really up to. Dave, sit down, he says without looking up from a stack of papers on his desk. We need to talk. I settle into one of those leather chairs which creaks ominously under my weight. What did you find? Felix finally looks up, and his expression is grim. Your wife filed paperwork last week to start a consulting business. Locke Environmental Solutions. She what? Gets better. Her business partner is listed as Simon Vance, and they've already applied for a city contract to consult on the new waste management facility. The same facility I've been working on for 6 months. The same facility that's going to be worth millions in city contracts. How is that even possible? She doesn't know anything about environmental engineering. She doesn't need to. The contract is for community outreach and public relations. Basically, they get paid to convince people that the facility is a good idea. I feel like someone just punched me in the stomach. She's using my work to build her own business. It's worse than that, Dave. Look at this. Felix slides a document across the desk. It's a loan application for $2 million with our house listed as collateral. She can't do this without my signature, I say. But even as I say it, I'm remembering all the papers Erica has asked me to sign over the past few months. Just some insurance stuff, honey. Property tax documents, baby. Boring legal paperwork, you don't need to read it. Actually, she can. South Carolina is a marital property state, and she's listed as co-owner of the house. If you sign the right papers, I'm an idiot. No, you're a trusting husband. There's a difference. Felix leans back in his chair. The question is, what do you want to do about it? Before I can answer, my phone buzzes with a text from Erica. Having dinner with Tara tonight. Don't wait up. Love you. I show the message to Felix, who snorts. Dinner with Tara, Want to bet she's actually meeting with Simon to plan their next move? The greenhouse, I say suddenly. Last night she was on the phone talking about meeting someone at the greenhouse at midnight. What greenhouse? There's an old conservatory behind our house. Grandfather used to grow orchids there, but it's been abandoned for years. Perfect place for a secret meeting. Felix grins, and I recognize the expression. It's the same look he used to get in college when he was about to suggest something that would probably get us in trouble. Dave, how do you feel about throwing a party? 3 hours later, I'm standing in my front hall watching caterers transform my house into something that belongs in a magazine. The official story is that I'm hosting a charity fundraiser for the Charleston Environmental Preservation Society. The real story is that I'm setting a trap. Mr. David, where would you like the bar set up? Miss Jean asks, appearing at my elbow with the efficiency of a military commander. Wherever you think is best. You're in charge of this operation. She smiles. Your grandfather would be proud, sir. He always said the best revenge is served publicly. The guests start arriving at 7. Charleston's elite in all their glory, and politicians, business owners, socialites, and everyone else who thinks they run this city. They come because the lock name still means something here, even if they don't know exactly what. Erica appears at 7:30, wearing a black cocktail dress that probably costs more than most people's cars. She looks stunning, which makes what I'm about to do both easier and harder. Dave, honey, what's all this? She asks, surveying the crowd with the calculating look of someone trying to figure out how to use a situation to her advantage. Just a little fundraiser. I thought it was time we started entertaining again. You should have told me. I could have helped plan it. I wanted to surprise you. She kisses my cheek and I catch that scent again. Men's cologne, faint but definitely there. You're amazing, she says. I'm so lucky to have you. The words twist in my chest, but I keep my expression neutral. Where's Tara tonight? I thought you two were having dinner. For just a moment, Erica's smile falters. Oh, she had to cancel. Family emergency. Another lie. I can see Tara across the room holding court near the bar and clearly having been here for a while. That's too bad. Well, enjoy the party. I have some business to take care of. I excuse myself and make my way through the crowd, playing the gracious host while keeping one eye on Erica. She's working the room like a politician, charming everyone with that perfect smile and those practiced gestures. But I notice she keeps checking her phone and glancing toward the back of the house. At 11:15, she finds me near the library. Honey, I'm getting a terrible headache. I think I'm going to go upstairs and lie down. Do you want me to get you anything? No, I'll be fine. You stay and enjoy your party. She kisses me again and heads for the stairs, but I notice she doesn't actually go up. Instead, she slips down the back hallway toward the kitchen. I give her 5 minutes, then follow. The back door is slightly ajar, and through it I can see a figure moving across the dark lawn toward the old greenhouse. The building is mostly glass and wrought iron, a Victorian monstrosity that somehow managed to survive a century of Charleston weather. Tonight, there's a faint light glowing inside. I grab a flashlight from the kitchen drawer and slip outside, staying in the shadows as I make my way across the lawn. The party noise fades behind me, replaced by the sound of crickets and my own thundering heartbeat. The greenhouse door is open and I can hear voices inside. Low, intimate, urgent. And can't keep doing this, Erica is saying. Dave's starting to ask questions. Let him ask. That's Simon's voice, cocky and dismissive. What's he gonna do? He's a nobody, a paper pusher who inherited a crumbling old house. You don't understand. There are things about Dave's family that what? They used to have money? Big deal. That was a long time ago. Now he's just another middle-class engineer who got lucky in marriage. I edge closer to the window, staying low behind an overgrown azalea bush. Through the dirty glass, I can see them clearly. Erica is sitting on an old potting bench, and Simon is standing over her, his hand on her shoulder. The loan went through, he says. $2 million with the house as collateral. Once we get the city contract, we'll have enough to pay it back and start the real business. What if Dave finds out? He won't. And even if he does, what's he gonna do? Divorce you? Fine. You'll get half of everything, including that house. We can sell it, pay off the loan, and start fresh somewhere else. Erica looks uncertain. I don't know, Simon. Maybe we should... He cuts her off by kissing her, hard and possessive. She melts into him, and I watch my wife of 5 years wrap her arms around another man like I don't exist. I should be heartbroken. I should be devastated. Instead, I'm furious. But I'm also something else. I'm calculating. Because Simon made one crucial mistake in his little speech. He assumed I'm just another middle-class engineer who got lucky. He has no idea who he's really dealing with. I back away from the greenhouse and head toward the house, my mind already working through the possibilities. By the time I reach the back door, I know exactly what I'm going to do. The party is winding down, but there are still enough people here for what I have in mind. I find Felix near the bar, nursing a scotch and chatting with Judge Harrison, an old friend of my grandfather's. "Felix, Judge Harrison, could I have a word?" We move to a quiet corner of the library, and I quickly explain what I just witnessed. Judge Harrison listens with the expression of a man who's heard every possible human folly and isn't surprised by any of it anymore. "David," he says when I finish, "I think it's time you knew something about your grandfather's will." "What about it?" "The house isn't the only thing he left you. There's a trust, a very large trust. But he specified that you couldn't access it until you turned 40 or faced a significant personal crisis that required substantial resources to resolve." I stare at him. "How large?" $50 million, plus controlling interest in 6 companies, including the largest waste management firm in South Carolina. The room goes silent, except for the distant sound of the party. "You mean the city contract your wife and her boyfriend are trying to steal? They'd be stealing it from you. You already own the company that's going to get it." Felix starts laughing, a low chuckle that builds into something approaching hysteria. "Dave," he says when he can speak again, "your wife just tried to defraud you out of a contract for a company you own, using a loan secured by a house that's worth 10 times what she thinks it is." Judge Harrison nods gravely. "I'd say this qualifies as a significant personal crisis. Wouldn't you?" Through the library window, I can see Erica slipping back into the house, smoothing her hair and checking her reflection in the hall mirror. She has no idea that everything just changed. The divorce papers arrive on a Wednesday morning, delivered by a process server who looks like he'd rather be anywhere else. Erica's at her yoga class, which I now know is code for meeting Simon at his downtown loft. So I'm alone in the kitchen with Ms. Jean when the doorbell rings. "Mr. Locke, I have papers for you." I sign for the envelope, and the server practically runs back to his car. Word travels fast in Charleston, and by now everyone knows that the Locke marriage is about to become the most entertaining disaster the city's social scene has seen in years. "What does it say, sir?" Ms. John asks, hovering nearby with the concern of someone who's watched this family's drama unfold for decades. I scan the legal documents, and I have to admire the audacity. Erica wants half of everything: the house, my business assets, even my grandfather's antique collection. She's claiming irreconcilable differences and emotional abandonment, painting herself as the victim of a cold, distant husband who neglected her needs. The really beautiful part is the financial disclosure. According to her filing, our total marital assets are worth about $800,000. She's either completely clueless about what she's married to, or she's planning to hide the real value and hope I'm too stupid to notice. Either way, she's about to get the education of her lifetime. "Ms. Jean," I say, folding the papers carefully, "would you call Felix and Judge Harrison? Tell them it's time for phase 2. An hour later, I'm sitting in Felix's office again, but this time, Judge Harrison is with us, along with a woman I don't recognize. She's about 50, impeccably dressed, with the kind of sharp eyes that suggest she doesn't miss much. "Dave, meet Margaret Sinclair," Felix says, "the best divorce attorney in South Carolina." "Pleasure," Margaret says, shaking my hand with a grip that could crush walnuts. "I've reviewed your wife's filing, and I have to say, it's quite entertaining. She's asking for half of $800,000 worth of assets, while sitting on a $2 million loan she took out without your knowledge," Felix adds. "Using a house worth $12 million as collateral," Judge Harrison finishes. Margaret smiles, and it's not a nice expression. "This is going to be fun." The first hearing is scheduled for the following Monday. Erica shows up with her lawyer, a slick-looking guy named Brad Chambers, who specializes in high-asset divorce cases. He's got the kind of tan that comes from a bottle and teeth that are too white to be natural. I arrive with Margaret, and I can see Erica's confidence falter slightly when she realizes I'm not representing myself. But she recovers quickly, whispering something to Chambers that makes him nod and pat her hand reassuringly. Judge Patricia Wells calls the hearing to order. She's younger than Judge Harrison, but she has the same no-nonsense demeanor that suggests she's seen every trick in the book. This is a preliminary hearing for the divorce petition filed by Erica Locke against David Locke, she announces. Mr. Chambers, you may present your client's case. Chambers stands up, straightening his tie with the confidence of a man who thinks he's already won. Your Honor, my client is seeking a fair and equitable division of marital assets after 5 years of marriage to a man who has consistently prioritized his work over his family. Mrs. Locke has been a devoted wife and partner, supporting her husband's career while sacrificing her own professional opportunities. He goes on like this for 10 minutes, painting Erica as a long-suffering wife trapped in a loveless marriage with a workaholic husband. It's a compelling story, and if I didn't know the truth, I might even feel sorry for her. When he finishes, Judge Wells turns to Margaret. Sinclair, your response? Margaret stands slowly, and I can see her savoring the moment. Your Honor, my client is certainly willing to provide Mrs. Locke with a fair and equitable division of assets. However, we believe there are some significant discrepancies in her financial disclosure that need to be addressed. She opens a folder and pulls out a stack of documents. For instance, Mrs. Locke has listed the marital home as being worth $600,000. However, a recent appraisal shows its actual value to be $12 million. The courtroom goes dead silent. I can see Erica's face go white, and Chambers looks like someone just told him his law degree was fake. Furthermore, Margaret continues, Mrs. Locke has failed to disclose that she recently took out a $2 million loan using the marital home as collateral without her husband's knowledge or consent. Objection, Chambers jumps up. This is a preliminary hearing, not a trial. These allegations are documented facts, Margaret says calmly, handing a set of papers to the judge. Bank records, loan documents, property appraisals, all properly filed with the court. Judge Wells reviews the documents, her expression growing more severe with each page. Mr. Chambers, did your client inform you about this loan? Chambers looks at Erica, who's staring at her hands like she's trying to disappear. Your Honor, that is, my client may have overlooked some details in her initial filing. Overlooked. Judge Wells's voice could freeze water. Mr. Chambers, your client overlooked a $2 million loan secured by property she undervalued by $11 million. We can explain. I'm sure you can. Mrs. Sinclair, please continue. Margaret nods graciously. Thank you, Your Honor. There's also the matter of Mrs. Locke's new business venture, which she failed to disclose as a marital asset. She produces another set of documents. Locke Environmental Solutions, LLC, founded last month with Mrs. Locke and one Simon Vance as equal partners. They've already been awarded a preliminary contract with the city worth approximately $5 million over 3 years. I watch Erica's face crumble as her secret business becomes public record. Chambers is frantically scribbling notes, probably trying to figure out how to salvage this disaster. However, Margaret says, and her voice takes on a tone that makes everyone in the courtroom lean forward, there's something else the court should know about this contract. She pauses for dramatic effect, and I have to admire her timing. The contract was awarded to Mrs. Locke's company to provide consulting services for a waste management facility. What Mrs. Locke apparently didn't realize is that the facility is owned by Locke Industries, a company controlled by a family trust. Another pause. A trust that names my client, David Locke, as the sole beneficiary. The silence in the courtroom is so complete I can hear the air conditioning humming. Your Honor, Margaret continues, Mrs. Locke has essentially tried to steal a contract from her own husband's company, using money borrowed against property she doesn't fully own, in order to fund a business she didn't disclose in her divorce filing. Judge Wells looks at Erica like she's something unpleasant that got tracked in on someone's shoe. Mrs. Locke, do you have anything to say about these allegations? Erica finally looks up, and I can see tears streaming down her face. But they're not tears of remorse. They're tears of rage and humiliation. This is ridiculous, she says, her voice cracking. Dave is just an engineer. He doesn't own any companies. This is all some kind of mistake. Ma'am, Judge Wells says quietly, I have documentation showing that your husband is the beneficiary of a trust worth over $50 million with controlling interests in multiple companies. Did you not know this? Erica stares at me across the courtroom. and I can see the exact moment when she realizes how badly she's underestimated me. "No," she whispers. "I didn't know. Mr. Chambers, I'm going to give you and your client 1 week to file an amended financial disclosure. A complete and accurate one this time. I'm also ordering an immediate freeze on all accounts associated with Locke Environmental Solutions, pending a full audit." She bangs her gavel, and the hearing is over. As we file out of the courtroom, I can hear Erica arguing with Chambers in harsh whispers. She keeps looking at me like I'm a stranger, which I suppose I am now. Margaret pats my arm as we reach the hallway. "Phase 2 complete," she says with satisfaction. "Ready for phase 3? I think about Erica's face when she realized the truth, the shock, the anger, the humiliation. Absolutely. The Charleston Post and Courier runs the story on Thursday morning, buried on page 3 of the business section, but visible enough for anyone who matters to see it. Local woman attempts to defraud husband's company. Isn't the most sensational headline, but in a city this size, it might as well be front page news. By noon, my phone has been ringing nonstop. "Dave, is it true?" That's Tom Bradley, a guy I went to college with who now runs a construction company. "Did Erica really try to steal money from you?" "It's complicated, Tom. Man, I always thought there was something off about her. Remember that time at the barbecue when she was flirting with that contractor? What was his name? Steve something?" I didn't remember, but I'm starting to wonder how many other things I missed over the years. The calls keep coming. Old friends, business associates, people I haven't talked to in months suddenly want to check on me, offer support, share their own suspicions about Erica's behavior. It's like the whole city has been waiting for permission to say what they really think about my wife. The most interesting call comes from Detective Ray Morrison, Felix's older brother, and a 20-year veteran of the Charleston Police Department. "Dave, you got a minute? I think we need to talk." We meet at a coffee shop downtown, far enough from my usual haunts that we won't be overheard. Ray looks like an older, more weathered version of Felix, with the same sharp eyes but more lines around them. "I've been hearing some interesting things about your wife and her boyfriend," he says without preamble. Such as Simon Vance has been running a lot more than just environmental consulting. We've had our eye on him for a while. Nothing we could prove, but enough to make us curious." Ray pulls out a small notebook and flips through it. Money laundering through fake consulting contracts, kickbacks from construction companies, possible involvement in a bid rigging scheme for city contracts. The guy's dirty, Dave. How dirty? Dirty enough that if your wife's business is tied up with his, she could be looking at federal charges. I feel a cold satisfaction settle in my chest. What kind of charges? Fraud? Conspiracy? Maybe racketeering if we can prove a pattern. The feds have been building a case against him for months, but they needed something concrete. Your wife's loan documents might be just what they're looking for. Ray closes his notebook and leans back in his chair. "Dave, I'm going to give you some advice as a friend. Whatever you're planning to do to get back at your wife, be careful. She's about to have much bigger problems than a divorce." That evening, I'm sitting in my study when Ms. Jean knocks on the door. "Mr. David, there's someone here to see you. Says her name is Tara Mitchell." Tara is the last person I expected to see, especially alone. She's standing in my front hall looking nervous, clutching her purse like it contains the crown jewels. "Dave, I hope you don't mind me stopping by. I know things are complicated right now." "What can I do for you, Tara?" She glances around nervously as if she's afraid someone might be listening. "Can we talk privately? It's about Erica." I lead her to the study and close the door. Tara perches on the edge of a chair, still clutching that purse. "Dave, I need you to know that I never wanted any part of this. When Erica told me what she was planning, I tried to talk her out of it." "What exactly did she tell you?" Tara takes a shaky breath. "She said you were hiding money from her, that you had secret accounts and investments that you weren't telling her about. She said Simon was helping her find evidence so she could get what she deserved in the divorce. And you believe that?" I didn't know what to believe. Erica was so convincing and she seemed so hurt. She said you'd been cold and distant for months, that you were probably having an affair. The irony is almost too much to bear. "Tara, did you know about the loan?" She nods miserably. "Simon convinced her it was the only way to protect herself financially. He said that once they got the city contract, they could pay it back and you'd never know the difference." "What about their relationship? Did you know they were sleeping together?" Tara's face crumples. "I suspected, but Erica kept denying it. She said Simon was just a business partner, that she'd never cheat on you. But I saw them together at his apartment one day, and it was obvious. She trails off, dabbing at her eyes with a tissue. Dave, I'm so sorry. I should have told you what was happening, but Erica made me promise to keep quiet. She said it would ruin everything if you found out too soon. Too soon for what? For her to get the evidence she needed to prove you were hiding assets. I stare at Tara, processing what she just said. She was planning to accuse me of hiding assets? Simon said it was a common tactic in divorce cases. If she could prove you were being dishonest about money, she'd have a better chance of getting more in the settlement. The beautiful, twisted logic of it takes my breath away. Erica was planning to accuse me of exactly what she was doing, hiding assets and being dishonest about money. If I hadn't discovered the truth about grandfather's trust, she might have gotten away with it. Tara, why are you telling me this now? She looks up at me with red-rimmed eyes. Because I found out about the federal investigation. My husband Richard plays golf with a guy who works for the FBI. They're going to arrest Simon next week, and they think Erica might be involved too. She reaches into her purse and pulls out a small digital recorder. I recorded my last conversation with Erica. She was bragging about how she was going to take you for everything you were worth. I thought maybe you could use it to protect yourself. I take the recorder, feeling its weight in my hand. There's something else, Tara says quietly. Erica's been telling people that you're harmful, that you threatened her when you found out about the business. She's trying to build a case for a restraining order. The room goes cold around me. That's not true. I know it's not, but she's convinced some people, especially the ones who don't know you well. She's planning to file for it tomorrow. I think about Erica's tears in the courtroom, the way she looked at me like I was a monster. She's not just trying to steal my money anymore. She's trying to destroy my reputation. Tara, I need you to do something for me. What? I need you to call Erica and tell her you want to meet tomorrow night. Somewhere public, but not too crowded. Tell her you're worried about her and you want to help. Dave, I don't think... Trust me, and bring that recorder. After Tara leaves, I sit in the study for a long time, thinking about everything that's happened. 6 months ago, I thought I had a happy marriage and a simple life. Now I'm discovering that my wife is a criminal, my grandfather was secretly wealthy, and half the city has been waiting for my marriage to implode. The phone rings, interrupting my thoughts. It's Felix. Dave, we have a problem. Erica's lawyer filed an emergency motion for a restraining order. The hearing is tomorrow morning. On what grounds? She's claiming you threatened her and that you have access to tools. She's also saying you've been stalking her and monitoring her communications. I think about the recordings I made at the greenhouse, the way I've been tracking her movements and investigating her business dealings. Felix, technically speaking, have I been stalking her? There's a long pause. Let's just say we need to be very careful about how we present your recent activities. What if I told you I have a recording of her admitting to fraud? I'd say that's great, but it won't matter if she gets a restraining order. Once that's in place, the narrative becomes about you being a dangerous husband who's harassing his innocent wife. I hang up the phone and look around the study. The walls are lined with my grandfather's books, his awards, his photographs with politicians and business leaders. This room represents decades of careful planning and patient strategy. Grandfather always said that the best revenge is served publicly. Tomorrow, Erica's going to learn what that means. The restraining order hearing is scheduled for 9 a.m. Friday morning. I arrive at the courthouse with Margaret, Felix, and a briefcase full of evidence that's going to change everything. Erica's already there with Chambers, wearing a conservative blue dress and minimal makeup that makes her look younger and more vulnerable. She's playing the part of the frightened wife perfectly, staying close to her lawyer and avoiding eye contact with me. Judge Wells calls the hearing to order and asks Chambers to present his case. Your Honor, my client is in fear for her safety. Since the divorce proceedings began, Mr. Locke has become increasingly hostile and threatening. He's been following her, monitoring her activities, and making veiled threats about what he'll do if she doesn't withdraw her petition. Chambers produces a statement from Erica detailing alleged incidents of harassment and intimidation. According to her version of events, I'm a controlling, harmful husband who's been psychologically tormenting her for months. Furthermore, Your Honor, Mr. Locke has access to firearms and has made statements suggesting he might use them to solve his problems permanently. This is news to me. since I don't own any tools and have never made any such statements. When Chambers finishes, Judge Wells turns to Margaret. Ms. Sinclair, your response? Margaret stands and smooths her skirt, taking her time. Your Honor, my client categorically denies these allegations. In fact, we believe Mrs. Locke is making these claims in a desperate attempt to distract from her own criminal behavior. She opens her briefcase and pulls out the digital recorder Tara gave me. We have evidence that Mrs. Locke has been planning this strategy for weeks as part of a broader scheme to defraud my client and steal assets from his family trust. Margaret plays the recording. Erica's voice fills the courtroom, clear and unmistakable. Dave's such an idiot. He has no idea what's coming. By the time I'm done with him, I'll have the house, the business, everything. And if he tries to fight it, I'll just claim he was harmful. Who's going to believe him over me? The silence in the courtroom is deafening. I watch Erica's face go from pale to bright red as she realizes what just happened. Your Honor, Margaret continues, we also have documentation showing that Mrs. Locke has been working with Simon Vance, who is currently under federal investigation for fraud and money laundering. She produces a stack of FBI documents that Ray Morrison somehow managed to make available to us. Mr. Vance was arrested this morning on charges of conspiracy, fraud, and racketeering. Mrs. Locke's business is directly implicated in his criminal enterprise. Chambers is on his feet immediately. Objection! This is a restraining order hearing, not a criminal trial. Overruled, Judge Wells says coldly. The credibility of the petitioner is absolutely relevant to this proceeding. Ms. Sinclair, please continue. Margaret nods and pulls out another document. We also have sworn testimony from Mrs. Tara Mitchell, Mrs. Locke's closest friend, detailing how Mrs. Locke planned to make false accusations of mistreatment as part of her divorce strategy. She hands the document to the judge, who reads it with an expression of growing disgust. Your Honor, Margaret says, Mrs. Locke is not a victim of domestic mistreatment. She's a criminal who got caught and is now trying to use the legal system to continue victimizing her husband. Judge Wells looks at Erica with the expression of someone who's just discovered something unpleasant on the bottom of her shoe. Mrs. Locke, do you have anything to say in response to these allegations? Erica stands shakily, tears streaming down her face. But these aren't the calculated tears she used in the courtroom before. These are tears of pure panic. Your Honor, this is all a misunderstanding. I never meant for any of this to happen. Simon told me that Dave was hiding money, and I was just trying to protect myself by committing fraud. I didn't know it was fraud. Simon handled all the business details. I just signed the papers he gave me. Judge Wells flips through the documents in front of her, taking her time. Mrs. Locke, you're asking this court to believe that you accidentally started a business, accidentally took out a $2 million loan, accidentally bid on a contract from your husband's company, and accidentally planned to make false accusations of misuse? Your Honor, please, I've heard enough. Judge Wells bangs her gavel. The petition for a restraining order is denied. Furthermore, I'm referring this matter to the district attorney's office for investigation of perjury charges. She looks directly at Erica. Mrs. Locke, you have attempted to use this court as a tool against your husband based on completely fabricated allegations. That is not only morally reprehensible, it's criminal. As we leave the courthouse, I can see news vans pulling up outside. Word travels fast in Charleston, and by evening, everyone in the city will know what happened. Erica tries to approach me in the parking lot, but Margaret steps between us. Mrs. Locke, any communication with my client needs to go through your attorney. Dave, please, Erica says, her voice breaking. We need to talk. I can explain everything. I look at her for a long moment. This woman I thought I knew, who I thought loved me. She looks small and desperate, nothing like the confident socialite who ruled Charleston's charity circuit. There's nothing to explain, Erica. You made your choice when you decided to steal from me. Now you get to live with the consequences. I turn and walk away, leaving her standing in the parking lot with her lawyer and the wreckage of her life. 3 weeks later, I'm sitting in my study reading the final divorce decree when Ms. Jean brings me the evening paper. The headline reads, Federal jury convicts local businessman in fraud scheme. Simon Vance got 15 years in federal prison. Erica, who cooperated with prosecutors in exchange for a plea deal, got 3 years probation and community service. She also had to pay full restitution for the fraudulent loan, which meant selling everything she owned and still owing money. The house is quiet now. Erica moved out 2 weeks ago, taking only her personal belongings. Everything else, the furniture, the art, the expensive kitchen appliances, stays with the house, with me. I pour myself a glass of my grandfather's whiskey and think about everything that's happened. 6 months ago, I was a middle-class engineer with a cheating wife and a crumbling marriage. Today, I'm a millionaire with controlling interest in 6 companies and a reputation as someone you don't want to cross. The phone rings. It's Felix. Dave, you need to see tomorrow's paper. They're running a feature story about you. The Quiet Millionaire, how David Locke built a business empire while no one was looking. I didn't build anything. I inherited it. Maybe, but you sure as heck defended it. The whole city's talking about how you took down Simon Vance and exposed his operation. You're like a folk hero. I laugh thinking about how wrong everyone was about me, including my wife. Felix, what's the latest on Erica? She's working at a coffee shop downtown. Minimum wage, living in a studio apartment. Word is she's trying to keep a low profile until her probation ends. I should feel sorry for her, part of me does. But mostly, I feel satisfied that justice was served. Oh, and Dave, I got a call from the mayor today. The city wants to give you an award for exposing the corruption in the contracting process. They're calling you a civic hero. After I hang up, I walk through the house that's now truly mine. The portraits of my ancestors look down from the walls, and I wonder if they're proud of how I handled this situation. In the kitchen, Miss Jean is cleaning up after dinner. Ms. Jean, did my grandfather ever tell you what he thought would happen when I found out about the trust? She pauses in her work and looks at me with those sharp eyes. He said you'd probably be married to someone who was only interested in your money, and that you'd need to be strong enough to do something about it when you found out. He knew about Erica? Mr. David, your grandfather, was a very good judge of character. He saw right through that girl the first time he met her. Then why didn't he say anything? Ms. Jean smiles. Because he knew you had to figure it out for yourself. And he knew that when you did, you'd handle it exactly the way a Locke should. I think about that as I finish my whiskey. My grandfather spent his whole life letting people underestimate him while he quietly built an empire. He taught me to do the same thing, even if I didn't realize it at the time. Erica thought she was married to a nobody. Simon thought he was stealing from a pushover. They both learned too late that the quiet ones are often the most dangerous. I raise my glass in a toast to the portrait of my grandfather hanging over the fireplace. Thanks for the lesson, old man. I finally understand what you were trying to teach me. Outside, Charleston settles into another warm evening. Tomorrow, I'll go back to work as an environmental engineer and managing projects and attending meetings like nothing has changed. But everything has changed. I know who I am now, and more importantly, everyone else knows too. The Locke family has always been good at letting people underestimate them. We're even better at making them regret it.